everyone. Today I will talk about the statistic of foreign workers discrimination in Malaysia. Foreign workers are important for Malaysian economy. They work in construction, factories and farm, but many face problems like low pay, unsafe job and unfair treatment. Most foreign workers come from Indonesia, Bangladesh and also Nepal. About 35% face low pay and 40% do not have legal documents. It making hard for them to get help. Discrimination happen because of weak law and negative thinking about foreign workers. This lead to health problems and unsafe workplace, which is also affect our country. We need to treat foreign worker better to build a fair and strong Malaysia. Thank you.
Foreign workers play a vital role in Malaysia's economy, especially in sectors like construction, manufacturing, and agriculture. Yet, many face discrimination in wages, working conditions, and access to benefit. They are often treated as expendable with little regard for their right or well-being. The root of this discrimination lies in several factors. First, societal prejudice perpetuate stereotype that foreign workers are less skilled or valuable. Second, weak enforcement of labour laws allows employees to exploit foreign workers, knowing they are less likely to report abuses. Lastly, many foreign workers lack legal documentation, making them vulnerable to exploitation. This discrimination not only harms the workers but also tarnishes Malaysia's image as a fair and just society. It leads to poor mental and physical health among workers and creates a cycle of dependency on cheap labour, which hinders long-term economic growth. To address this, Malaysia must strengthen labour law and enforcement mechanism, ensure equal pay for equal work, and provide avenues for foreign workers to report grievances without fear of retaliation. Public awareness campaigns can also help challenge stereotypes and promote inclusivity. Point number 1 is wage disparity. Foreign workers in Malaysia, despite their significant contribution to industries like construction, agriculture and manufacturing, often earn considerably less than their local counterpart. For example, while Malaysia's workers may earn the minimum wages, foreign workers are frequently paid below this standard or face unjust deduction for housing or permit. Several factors contribute to this disparity. First, there is a lack of enforcement of labour law, allowing employers to exploit foreign workers with little fear of repercussions. Second, societal biases and perceptions that foreign workers are cheaper labour perpetuate this unfair treatment. Lastly, foreign workers often lack bargaining power or knowledge of their rights, making them vulnerable to exploitation. The effects of wage disparity are widespread. For foreign workers, it means a struggle to support their families and escape cycle of poverty. For Malaysia, it creates dependency on low-wage labour, hindering innovation and fair labour market competition. It also risks tarnishing Malaysia's global reputation as a fair employer. To address this issue, Malaysia must enforce strict compliance with minimum wage law for all workers, regardless of nationality. Implementing transparent pay structures and penalty for wage violence can deter exploitative practices. Empowering foreign workers through awareness campaigns about their rights and providing accessible complaint mechanisms are also crucial steps.
Now, I will discuss the issue of unsafe working conditions for foreign workers, its causes, impact and solution. Imagine leaving your home country to build a better future, only to face unsafe working conditions that endanger your health and life. This is the grim reality for many foreign workers in Malaysia. Many of them are forced to work in unsafe environments without proper safety equipment, training or access to medical care. Reports of injuries, exposure to harmful substances and even fatalities are far too common. Several factors contribute to this issue. First, employers sometimes prioritize cost cutting over worker safety, especially when employing foreign labour. Second, foreign workers workers are often lack awareness of their rights or fear retaliation, preventing them from reporting unsafe conditions. And lastly, weak enforcement of safety regulation by authorities exacerbates the problem, as violations often go unchecked. The consequence of unsafe working conditions are severe. For forest workers, it means physical injuries, long-term health issues, and even loss of life. For Malaysia, it results in a negative reputation internationally, reduces productivities, and increases costs for workplace accidents. Addressing this issue requires a multi-phase approach. Employer must be held accountable through stricter enforcement of safety regulation and heavier penalties for violation. Providing safety training in multiple languages ensure that workers understand the risks and precautions. Additionally, establishing accessible anonymous channels for workers to report unsafe conditions can help prevent accidents. Now, I will explain limited access to healthcare. Imagine living in a forest country, working tirelessly to support its economy, but being unable to access basic healthcare when you fall ill. Forest workers in Malaysia often struggle to access adequate healthcare. Many are them excluded from government healthcare subsidies and must rely on costly private clinics. Others face language barriers, discrimination, or a lack of information about available medical services. During the COVID-19 pandemic, this challenge became even more evident as many forest workers were left vulnerable. This issue arises due to several factors. First, forest workers are often required to pay for private insurance, which may not cover comprehensive healthcare needs. Second, irregular or undocumented workers avoid seeking care for fear of deportation. And lastly, some employers fail to fulfill their responsibility of providing health coverage for their workers. The consequences are dire. Many forest workers delay seeking medical attention, leading to worsening health conditions. This not only affects their productivities but also increases the burden on emergency services when untreated issues escalated. Public health is also at risk as infectious diseases can spread when healthcare access is limited. To address this issue, Malaysia can implement policies to provide affordable healthcare options for forest workers, including extending coverage in public healthcare facilities. Employers must be held accountable for ensuring that workers have adequate health insurance. Multilingual awareness campaigns can help workers understand their rights and access available services. The last point is social prejudice and stereotyping. Imagine being judged not for your skill or characters, but for your nationalities or the type of work you do. This is the harsh reality faced by many forest workers in Malaysia, often endure social prejudice and stereotyping. Forest workers in Malaysia are frequently stereotyped as being unskilled, burdensome, or even a threat to local jobs and safety. These prejudices are often fueled by misinformation, sensationalized media reports, and a lack of understanding about their contribution to the company. As a result, forest workers in Malaysia face discrimination not only in the workplace but also in their daily life. Social prejudice and stereotyping stem from several factors. First, there's a perception that forest workers uncut local wages, creating resentment. Second, cultural and linguistic difference can lead misunderstandings and a sense of otherness. And lastly, the lack of positive representation of forest workers in media and public discourse reinforce negative stereotypes. The consequences are significant. Forest workers often experience isolation, mental health challenge, and a lack of opportunities to integrate into society. On a broader scale, these biases hinders social cohesion and create an environment of mistrust and inequality. Addressing this issue required collective effort. Public awareness campaigns highlighting the contribution of forest workers can help change perceptions. Educational programs in schools and workplaces can promote cultural understanding and empathy. The media also has a critical role in portraying forest workers in a balanced and respectful manners.
Another significant issue is the lack of legal protections. Many foreign workers are not aware of their legal rights, and there are often gaps in enforcement that leave them vulnerable to exploitations and abuse. Legal recourse is often expensive and time-consuming, making it difficult for foreign workers to seek justice. In the workplace, foreigner worker often face discriminations in the form of lower wages and poorer working conditions compared to their local counterparts. They are also more likely to be employed in dangerous and labor-intensive jobs with little regard for their safety and well-being. This creates an unequal and unjust working environments. Even though there are laws in place to protect foreign workers, the enforcement of this law is often weak. Corruptions and bureaucracy can hinder the effective implementation of these regulations, resulting in insufficient penalties for employees who exploit foreign workers. This lack of accountability perpetuates the cycle of abuse and exploitations. Okay, finally, it's important to understand the scale of this issue. Foreigner worker constitutes a significant portion of Malaysian workforce, especially in sectors such as constructions, agriculture, and domestic works. The discriminations they face not only affects their life, but also has broader social and economic implications. Addressing this issue is essential for creating a more inclusive and equitable society. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.